know.
I love my fatherland.
Oh yeah.
I want to know.
Yes, I want to know.
Which way Nigeria is heading to. Which way Nigeria. Which way Nigeria.
The birth of the new year 2012 is arguably one of the most unpleasant mornings of the Nigerian nation in the annals of recorded history. On that day, the more than 160 million citizens woke up to the shocking news that the federal government of President Goodluck Jonathan has withdrawn the contentious subsidy on petrol (PMS) in its totality. More so, this meant that 1 litre of petrol, which the citizens had bought 24 hours before at 65 naira a litre, was now to sell at between 141 and 150 naira per litre. This ominous news was not helped by the fact that the nation had barely recovered from the murderous and callous bombing spree of the renegade Boko Haram sect just 7 days before, on Christmas Day 2011. Boko Haram had murdered scores of persons, men, women and children, as well as destroyed properties worth millions of naira on what became known as Black Christmas. The civil society was almost in universal condemnation of government's position and demanded for an immediate reversal of the government policy. Labour, under the aegis of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC), called a nationwide strike on the 9th of January 2012. Mass protest and the near-total shutdown of government, business, commerce and even domestic activities became the order of the day. In several pockets, these peaceful protests were hijacked by undesirable elements who took undue advantage of the situation. On the other hand, millions of aggrieved Nigerians have taken to alternative modes of showing their discontent with massive use of new media, Facebook, Twitter, BlackBerry and YouTube. Fringe groups such as Occupy Nigeria, Take Back Nigeria, New Nigeria Forum have created online chat rooms with millions of postings daily. But what is subsidy? What are the issues germane to its purported removal? What are the consequences on the political, social and economic health, not only of government, but of the larger mass of Nigerian citizens? What, in truth, is the economic arithmetic of petroleum product exploration, processing and refining and distribution? In technical terms, what are the processes that straddle the petroleum product value chain, from upstream to midstream to its downstream sectors? What are the historical antecedents of the fuel subsidy policy and the state of government's oil infrastructure, such as refineries and pipelines? Oil was first discovered in Nigeria in 1906. Oil exploration began in 1937, a year after Shell Dace was granted the sole right for hydrocarbon exploration in Nigeria in 1936. However, oil was discovered in commercial quantities in 1956 and production began in 1958 in Olobiri, a now near desolate pollution-raven community in present Bayelsa State. All the 4 refineries in Nigeria are owned by the federal government, and they were all constructed or installed between 1965 and 1989. In its advertised Shore program, the present government, in justifying the withdrawal of subsidy, also proposes to build 3 new refineries under a counterpart funding arrangement with the private sector in Bayelsa, Kogi and Lagos states, with a combined processing capacity of 400,000 barrels per day. However, Nigeria's refined petroleum product imbroglio can be readily traced to its inability or unwillingness to make its existing 4 refineries function. The 4 existing refineries are as follows. Port Harcourt Refinery 1, built in 1965. It is the smallest and the oldest of the refineries, with a capacity of 60,000 barrels per day. It was formerly owned and operated by Shell British Petroleum, but was nationalized by the first General Obasanjo administration. It is reportedly obsolete and has since been decommissioned. Port Harcourt Refinery 2, or the new Port Harcourt Refinery, completed in 1989 by General Babangida administration, is the nation's newest and largest refinery and conceived as an export refinery with a capacity of 150,000 barrels per day. In 1995, the LMA petrochemical plant was built adjacent to the refinery to facilitate the production of polypropylene and polyethylene. Today, Its output is a fraction of its installed capacity. However, it is still the most functional of the nation's refineries. The adjacent LMA petrochemical facility now lays dormant. It is on record that the last turnaround maintenance was last done at the Port Harcourt refinery in the year 2000. The turbines and the refineries power plants that are meant to be mandatorily overhauled every 3 years were last overhauled in 1993. The turbines have not been overhauled for some 17 years now. The Warri refinery was built in 1978 when Muhammadu Buhari was the petroleum minister under the Obasanjo military regime with an installed capacity of 125,000 barrels per day. The complex had an additional petrochemical processing capability added to it in 1986 for downstream petroleum products such as polypropylene and carbon black. However, due to neglect, frequent shutdowns, lack of maintenance and pipeline sabotage, the refinery often manages to output less than 30% of its installed capacity. The Warri refinery also has the capability to generate 125 megawatts of electricity if running at capacity. Hence, the energy needs of the refinery could be met with the excess energy produced in upwards of 70%, could supply the nation's power grid. In more recent years, however, most operations have ceased and the refinery is in various stages of disrepair. The Kaduna refinery, built in 1979 and located over 600 kilometers from its supply feed in Escravos, Delta State. It is designed to process both Nigerian Bonny Light and imported crude oil Arab Light, though with an installed capacity of 110,000 barrels per day. The sad story is that the Kaduna refinery has never performed at full capacity. The refinery also has an integrated base oil manufacturing plant, an asphalt plant, and a lab plant. Except in the first 10 years of its installation, the Kaduna refinery has been plagued by all manners of problems, including a frequent sabotage of the supply pipelines, technical breakdowns, poor maintenance and management. It witnessed major fire outbreaks on at least 2 occasions in 1997 and 2002. In its best operating years, between 1999 and 2002, the Kaduna refinery output was estimated to have been around 30 to 40% of capacity. In 2003, the pipeline from Escravos was sabotaged, vandalized and blown apart. The refinery is currently barely operational and is capable of being operated at less than 10% capacity. With a total installed capacity of 445,000 barrels per day, the nation's 4 refineries, if functional, would have been able to produce and supply 70,750,550 liters of refined petroleum products per day. 1 barrel equates 42 gallons, or 158.99 liters per barrel. In fact, with this figure, we would have no use for importation of refined petroleum products, and Nigeria could sell its excess refined products to neighboring countries.